Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tech Tuesday with me, Joe Emilio, and as always, Jannie van der Valt.
Did you forget my name, Joe? Because you took really long. You were looking oh, what is this guy called? What is this guy called?
I was gonna say Orange Beard.
But that would have been fine as well. That would have been fine as well. People know me about that now. The guy that can't drive.
Yes.
The guy that lost his oppressor because it got blown up.
Yep. Speaking of which, for those of you who don't know, Jannie and I do. We do a GTA kind of, because we're not kids.
Young at heart.
We play GTA. We're young at heart. Play GTA, and we just muck about. And some of the stuff turns out to be really funny. So please check out some of the episodes that we've been doing. And if you like it, please like the video and share it. Other than that, we are here today to talk about Tech Tuesday. Everything tech. We decided to do an episode that looks back at previous episodes and see if we missed any questions that you guys may have had. So over the past few months, we've been talking about smart homes, which was the last episode. We spoke about retro gaming. We spoke about elderly and tech. We spoke about 3D printing and a whole lot more. So we went back in time to see if we missed any questions. Jannie, how would you like to start this one?
So before we dig into the questions, I have 3 questions for you, Joe. And I hope you studied. This is all tech questions, and it's all stuff that I explained over the last couple of months.
This is a pop quiz. What do you mean I studied? This is I didn't even know.
I want to make sure you listen. I'm teasing. Okay, no, it's been fun. What's happening?
Sorry. I just want to address something. Yes, I am red because my curtains are purple. People, as soon as the sun goes down, the color should be okay. Sorry. I'm not trying to advocate for the EFF. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's go.
We'll raid the house.
Yeah, I need to get normal curtains.
So it's been awesome. I think we've had a good couple of streams. Initially, when I was on your show, it was first just your Let's Talk show, and then eventually it segued into us having Tech Tuesday. So I looked back, and it was fun, actually. So out of all of the streams we had, which stream was your favorite? I think I know the answer, but...
But you gave me the answers in your email.
Doesn't matter. I know what your answer is.
What's your favorite stream? You put there retro gaming.
That's mine. Don't read my answers, you noob.
I thought you were giving me a pop quiz. You gave me the answer.
This is like a matric maths exam, dude. You need to learn these things. My favorite one is retro gaming. What was your favorite stream?
Not necessarily the right answer. Okay, cool. Now, my favorite stream, I didn't know. First of all, let me also say this. I didn't know. I didn't know that you were going back into the Let's Talk episodes as well. I thought it was only the Tech Tuesdays. So let's be clear.
I only did go into I only did go to Tech Tuesday, but except for my second question.
Now you're just confusing me. But okay. Only in Tech Tuesday. If I look at only the Tech Tuesday stuff, what was your favorite stream? Okay, wait. Before I give it, tell me what do you think it is? Come on. Because you're like,
gaming,
I know.
Not the gaming one, the 3D printing one.
No.
Really?
It wasn't. It's a close one.
Wait, that was probably before we had the stream about smart homes and stuff.
That's not even my favorite one.
Okay.
My favorite one actually is Samsung discussion, purely because it was an interesting conversation, and you and I didn't agree on everything, and I like conversations like that. Even despite our differences in some of the aspects, it was still fun, and I felt it was enlightening an enriching conversation, and we had a lot of fun. I felt we had a lot of fun on that stream. There were other streams that came very close, but definitely the Apple versus Samsung one for me is first. Very close to that is 3D printing and retro gaming. I think I enjoyed 3D gaming and retro gaming the same, maybe retro gaming a little bit more.
Okay. So retro gaming was my favorite stream. I think that stream was just fun because we showed us like some old games. There was like lots of, people reminiscing a little bit around over like some of the old games that was out there. Thanks, Shack Dweller. Cool, man. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite stream. So don't ignore my answer in the second question because, and I'll talk to that. So which stream stressed you out the most?
The same answer you have there.
Oh, really?
Without
Okay.
a doubt. Yeah, no, without a doubt. But then again, if we're only taking Tech Tuesday,
I'll tell you what mine is.
if we only are looking at Tech Tuesday, I would also say Apple versus Samsung.
Yeah,
and the reason why
that one was my most stressful stream.
Yeah, because of the polarizing views of Apple and Samsung and Android and iOS. So yeah, definitely.
No,
but
definitely for me that one as well, because I'm a Apple person and I needed to get hold of an Android person, and I wanted to make sure that the discussion wasn't biased or just one thing. We can agree and disagree on some of the things, and that's all fine. But I need to make sure that we represent both sides, I think, fair in one way. And that was fine. Nobody left the stream bleeding. So I think that was good. But just for our audience, my most stressful stream in general with Joe has been the dark web stream. Not because of what it is that we've done, meaning like, how we progress through it and whatever. A lot of research went into that stream. It's probably the one stream that I've done the most research for, but it was more the after effects of it, because you do get people that just goes through life with blinkers on. And we had a couple of tough conversations on social media with some people around this topic. So that was my stressful stream, just people's perception of you because of that and whatever, so.
I would say, that's also been my most stressful stream, second to the EFF protests. So I'm talking about in general now, because I didn't know what to expect. I mean, when you and I first spoke about the dark web, I kind of took it as a joke because I was like, does it really exist? Does it really exist? And then, it really
is an interesting underworld.
It's
an interesting underworld.
Did change my perception on the world quite a bit. So cool.
Disclaimer: since we've did the dark web stream, I haven't been on the dark web again. Just saying.
Yeah, neither have I.
I don't ever need to. Anyway. Cool. So next question. Which stream do you think you want to see a part 2 of? And now let's exclude the one where I said, hey, let's do a part 2 because of the smart home stuff.
Yeah, this is a personal choice. Yeah, this is a personal choice. I'm trying to remember all of them now. 3D printing, then there was
smart homes, retro gaming,
elders.
Why did I not download questions from the elders one? I forgot about that one, actually.
How dare you?
I didn't prepare well for this, Joe. Ouch.
Yeah.
I will go back to that one. Make sure we didn't miss anything.
Well, I don't mean to sound like rude or anything, but I think we covered a lot of this stuff quite well. I think if there was going to be a part 2, maybe 3D printing, because there's some stuff I'm seeing into it across some platforms on social media and stuff that I'm like, wow, how did you make this? You know, people are very creative when it comes to 3D printing. So there's some pretty cool things. I mean, there's this one guy that has been he made an Iron Man suit, like an entire Iron Man suit. He 3D printed it. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome. So yeah, I wouldn't mind doing like a part 2 of that one and talking about those kind of stuff.
That sounds like a good idea. That's maybe something that we need to do, like the art of what's possible with 3D printing. But then it's not something like I've done myself, possibly. But it's like what is out there, what is possible, what other people are doing. Obviously, I'm part of a big community within the 3D printing space, so we can make that one a little bit more wider than just me. So and what I've done.
Yeah. So Gentle wants to see retro gaming and smart home. So we will probably do the smart home. But the smart home, because Jannie is going to obviously take out his house, and we'll be seeing that in April sometime. So that is going to be done. And then here's a suggestion, which we were going to ask people to do as well, or give your suggestion of topics that you might want us to talk about in the tech world. And here's one: phone security. Not a bad topic.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Or phone security awareness.
Yeah. We did that. That was Gentle. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I made a note of that. Cool. So let's dig into the past couple of streams. Let me get to my notes. So retro gaming, that was one of my most fun streams, as I said. What I'd want to do is I want to just paste a link in chat for the guys. If you remembered on that day, we did some of the old games that we used to play, like way back. And everybody kind of gave like so many suggestions of games like Circus Charlie and Duck Hunt, Bomberman, Mortal Kombat, Doom, Prince of Persia, Duke Nukem, Contra, Double Dragon, Metal Slug, MDK. So, and all of those games are playable through a browser on your PC, and you should even be able to play it on Mac. I don't think it needs anything special in a browser to run. So that's something that's pretty interesting. Something else that I actually researched subsequent to that, and I think somebody made a comment in a different stream. It wasn't made in the retro gaming stream, around Raspberry Pi. Somewhere I showed off the Raspberry Pi. It might have been the 3D printing stream. And somebody said, hey, have you seen the arcade stuff you can do on the Raspberry Pis? Now, the arcades is pretty, or the Raspberry Pis is pretty cool to run arcade computers and things. And there's some very cool DIY projects that guys are doing. So I will post 2 links in chat. Let me just make this copy-paste friendly. I'll paste 2 links in chat if there is somebody that wants to try and build one of those. I've not built one myself, but the instruction seems pretty straightforward. And yeah, that was pretty cool to see where people are building like retro arcade machines, etc. Very fun. The next stream, let's talk about 3D printing. So there was one question from Behav Z307, and he said, at Joe Emilio, does Jannie have any recommendations for where one can learn CAD? Now, that was an interesting question, and I think it's worth us addressing that one. So there's 2. I want to answer this question in 2 ways. I think the free option to learn anything in life these days is YouTube, guys. So I think Autodesk Fusion 360 is the one application that I would recommend, and I've tested quite a couple, but Autodesk Fusion 360, and I'll paste the link to Fusion 360 in chat, is what I would recommend for anybody that wants to start learning 3D printing. But if it's a kid, like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old that's got some computer savvy, but not necessarily the advanced CAD skills, go and have a look at Tinkercad. So Tinkercad is like a web browser based CAD, and it works in the same way where it's add, subtract, blocks, off circles, whatever. So it's a very cool starter CAD application for kids who can do text, etc. But to learn, there's tons of Tinkercad videos on YouTube. But to learn, there's a guy called let me just bring his channel up. There's a guy called Lars Christensen on YouTube. That would definitely be who I recommend to start following. He did like a Autodesk Fusion 360 basics video about 2 or 3 years ago, where he takes you through designing like a small little box that is, I guess, if you do like electrical work or something, and you have 2 sets of cables coming into this little box, and then he took you through the process of designing this box. So he actually had a physical box, and he was basically replicating it in CAD, so measuring it, doing this. And I think the biggest takeaway that I took from that learning experience by watching his videos was that he very early on teaches you to start using shortcuts. Now, I don't know, Joe, with you and video editing and all the graphic design work and stuff that you do, but do you use shortcuts a lot, or do you go to the menu to choose individual things, or is it a bit of a mix?
Bit of a mix.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I'm using Fusion 360 as well. But like when you're in design mode and you want to draw circles and whatever, I don't go menu circle this. You kind of like start using your shortcuts for some things and you use the menu for the other things. But yeah, that was a very cool tip from Lars. Guys, go check out his videos. He does really, really well. So and he does a lot for the community, I would say, from a Autodesk design perspective, etc. The next question was from Gentle Inflatables. Is it expensive to 3D print? Gentle, that's a difficult question to answer.
Extremely expensive. Like it's going to cost you like $50K just for the printer and the filament and all that stuff and all the little nitty gritties, and then it's another like $20K every time you print. It's extremely expensive. Yeah.
Hey, Gentle, when Joe's done lying, I will. It's a difficult question to answer, but let's split it up 3 ways. So, is it expensive to 3D print? Let's just ask that question from somebody that's saying, "Hey, can you print this for me?" type of thing, though, right? If it's a pre-made design and the design is allowed to be printable, because a lot of these designs are protected under some Creative Commons license, which means I'm not allowed to make profit off it, then it gets tricky. So depending on what it is for there I would 9 out of 10 times either refuse to print, or I would say, okay, cool, I will print this thing for you, but at cost price. So I will figure out what cost price is on my printer, meaning like a roll of filament costs, let's say, 350 Rand. And I use a very small multiplier for wear and tear on my printer. And then what I basically say is, cool, so if I print you a part that is 100 grams, it would work out roughly, 45 Rand as an argument. Okay, so that's one approach of doing it. The other approach is guys literally have a multiplier by volume. So that gets expensive. My rate right now is about 1 Rand per square millimeter, which is like very small. But like 1 Rand per square millimeter kind of like covers it. The industry rate's about 3 Rand, and that excludes design time. Now, right now, I'm not necessarily charging somebody for design time because I'm not running this as a business. This is a hobby for me. So I want to make sure that my printer pays for itself, and I want to make sure that my time is well spent when I'm doing it. So I don't necessarily charge somebody for design work and whatever, because if I have to take, what my income is and whatever, and figure out what my hourly rate is, it would kind of be a little bit unfair to use that as a guiding principle for this. And on the other side, I don't necessarily want to charge design work out for people and undercut somebody that actually makes a living off that. So it's tough as well. So I have a bit of a balance sometimes. For the most part, people ask me like easy stuff to print, and that easy stuff I literally make up by asking 20 or 30 rand more for the part, and I buy a bottle of Coke or something. And it's kind of like, okay, my printer wasn't standing still, and I felt that I got value from that. So in terms of like, let's give you an idea. Something like this is a simple little cell phone stand that I printed. This I would sell for like 30 rand. If somebody asks me to print, if Reese, my wife, asks me, it's 40 rand, but for you guys, I'll do it at 30. So and it's pretty cool. I mean, this just holds my cell phone, and yeah. So as an idea, like, this is typically the size of something that would be 30 rand. So I 3D printed a little mount for a GoPro that goes onto a Nerf gun the other day, and I think this was like cost price, because I didn't work out what it would cost. It was like 5 or 7 rand. I can't remember.
Sure.
So if I had to print and sell this to somebody that's very niche, 20, 30 bucks, because you'll make money off this. This is like simple, easy, like, where are you going to buy a GoPro mount for a Nerf gun? This took me like 15 minutes to design. Off you go. So that'll just ask me like 30 bucks for, and 9 out of 10 times they'll just pay it. So, that's fine. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, Joe, I'm not looking at the questions in chat, but hopefully that answered the question, Gentle. I see Gentle's in chat. Then the next one.
Sorry, speaking about the questions in chat, we're not ignoring. We just want to get through some of these prepared questions that we found, and then we will go through the questions in chat. I see Shaq Dreller's question. I think that might be answered in a few moments. When it comes to VPN, we will be touching on that. And the 3D weapons as well might be answered in a few moments. So let's just see.
Cool. All right. So good. Thanks, Joe. So Behalf Z307 also asked, Joe, what is a good 3D printer to buy for a beginner? So right now, Behalf, if you're listening, my opinion on that is the Creality Ender series are really good. It's a printer that you can buy for relatively cheap as a starter printer, and it will pretty much print all the basic things that you want to print. But what makes it fun, though, is that, sorry, I see my hair looks a bit weird. Is those printers, like I say, out the box, it prints fine, but people end up printing upgrades for it. So they print like different brackets for it, all different little cable retentions and just quality of life upgrades for the printer itself. So it's one of those things where you upgrade your own printer, and there's such a huge following in the open hardware, open source market for these printers, where guys are designing, like I say, like all custom type of things for it. And there's an interesting article that was sent to me actually by a good friend that I want to paste into chat. Let me just make the article chat friendly quick. I want to get that out there. But the Creality Ender 3 and the Creality Ender 3 Pro are two really good printers, and there's so many specials on at the moment. Like, I've seen some of those printers hovering at like 3,500, 4,000 rand.
Oh, wow.
Which is really, really cheap. So, so I think, that's a really good starter printer. And there is a couple of very interesting YouTube videos that the guys do about all the upgrades they've printed. Like, one guy the other day did like his 30 favorite upgrades that he printed, for his printer, which the last one, well, about 25 of them were upgrades printed. About 5 of them were like upgrades he made, like buying a different control board, buying 1 or 2 different hardware components for it. But it's all, improvements for the printer. But again, right out the box, that printer will print, and it will print all of these things, right out the box, like no issue with that. So, once you want to start going into like multi-material printing, where you start mixing colors, and like what Joe's mic is, where it's on one mic, or on one single print, you have the black and the red type of light, going, there you start getting into the little bit more expensive type of printers, especially when you are mixing the layers on curved surfaces, etc. So, but the question was around a printer for a beginner. I will recommend the Quality Ender 3. It's a kit printer, so you build it from scratch, but it's like semi-assembled. So it's got like 4 or 5 things you kind of like click together and off you go. But
Yeah.
if you're into 3D printing, I'm sure you would have watched tons of unboxing videos on that printer already, and you kind of will assemble the thing without using instructions. So, yeah, Joe, do we have any questions on 3D printing?
Yes. Shack Dweller, I believe, asked, how safe are 3D printed weapons? Not safe. They're not safe at all. We did touch on that in our episode, so maybe Jannie, in the description, please go check it out. We did go into quite a bit of detail when it came to 3D printed weapons. So yeah. No need to repeat ourselves. It's there. But yeah, unsafe. Don't do it. It's a bad idea.
It's also illegal. It's also illegal, so don't. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And then there was other things. Let's see here.
Bitcoin question somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that's a different topic, but yeah.
Yeah. Shack Dweller saying, how long till printed organs become available or mainstream? And then Paco, I think, adding to that, can the printer print a spine for the government? It's a bit of a joke.
But the 3D printed organs one is pretty interesting, though, because in the medical research space, the guys are using like stem cells and stuff to like print certain body parts and things. And that is really making some good progress, I suppose. The guys, I think they did print like an ear and a couple of things the other day. I've seen guys actually also print teeth implant things. So that was also interesting. So yeah, these devices are being used because it's additive, though, guys. Remember, for a lot of stuff previously in history, we used a process that you take a block of something and you carve it out to get to whatever the final result is that you wanted. And one, you can't do very complex parts because you can't get into small little crevices and whatever to, if you need to, however complex the part is. And 2, it's wasteful because a lot of material is going to waste, whereas 3D printing does it completely other way around. It's additive. It's like, very little waste and allows you to do very complicated and complex geometries that you would normally not be able to make. So it's just a question of time that it's going to hit the medical industry, etc.
Maybe we should do a follow-up on 3D printing and include that organs.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
All right, so we'll go into that a bit more. What's next?
I saw a question on Bitcoin. If I can just grab that one. Bismarck Bear said, Jannie, you're keen on Bitcoin. Bismarck, I really like cryptocurrency. We did a cryptocurrency stream a while back. It's worth listening to that. But yeah, I think there's some very good use cases for cryptocurrency, but I'm actually more interested about the technology behind cryptocurrency and like Bitcoin, which is the blockchain technology and how blockchain can get used within business processes. And, like as an example, there was a use case for protecting your personal documentation, like your passports, etc., for like Syrian refugees and whatever, and they didn't have papers, but they could get papers and put their papers onto the blockchain network, where it was safe and secure, and they had access to their personal information where it couldn't get lost and whatever. So that was a really, really interesting use case for blockchain. So yeah, I really like Bitcoin. It's skyrocketing at the moment, but I'm actually very interested about the technology behind it, which is, like I said, blockchain. I hope that answered that one. Then next one, let's jump to Samsung versus Apple. There wasn't many questions in there specifically, but a lot of people were asking. Sorry, go for it.
Sorry. make a note, Yanni. Perhaps we should discuss the technology of blockchain. I don't think we really went into that when we discussed cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So maybe because blockchain, I think, is being implemented now in a lot of things, and yeah, we probably discuss that tech aspect. So that's a topic for
I mean, there's some really, really cool tech that's being used for like in our everyday life, like smart contracts.
yeah.
Awesome. There's
So
some really awesome use cases for these things. So yeah, let's
yeah,
not give it away. Let's park it for them.
yeah,
Happy. I've made a note for that one.
cool.
Let's jump back. So Samsung versus Apple. There wasn't too many questions around
No,
around
just people angry.
yeah, like that. Why is Apple so awesome? So I3ZA had a question, and I said, it's like, were you also on BlackBerry Messenger or BBM guy? Were you a BBM guy? And Gentle Inflatable said Joe was too young for BBM. So I
No, it
don't know, Joe.
wasn't. No, no,
Did
no,
you
no,
ever
no.
use
I'm glad
BBM?
you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this up. I was not too. How old do you think I am? I was not too old for BBM. I was
Yeah,
definitely
Gentle.
these were a thing. Um, However, I'm not a fan of Blackberries. I never thought they were cool. I never liked them. I think when they first came out, I was like, that's kind of cool. But then I don't know, something about them just didn't. I think they started to like the buttons were very small and just I don't know. It I didn't like BBM. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like BlackBerry. So and like BlackBerry died out. Like
Yeah. So the hardware vendor, so their software died out, but the hardware vendor remained for a little bit, and BlackBerry did make some Android hardware. So Android friendly hardware, so you could run Android OS on a BlackBerry device.
okay,
But it lost that edge that BlackBerry had when BlackBerry came out. When BlackBerry came out, it came out at the right time. It came out at a time where the businessman and the person that wanted to use email on a mobile device and whatever wanted to that question is coming. That question is coming. So when the businessman wanted email on a device, and there wasn't a real nice, consistent way in getting email because we didn't have nice OSs. Mobile operating systems only really became nice like when the iPhone launched and the first or second generation of Android launched, and you actually had a proper smartphone.
yeah,
But other than that, those devices weren't proper smartphones. Now, I know some guy's going to come now and say, but did you have the Nokia communicator that flips open and whatever? Those were also good, but it was not as mainstream as BlackBerry. BlackBerry was mainstream for at least 6, 7 years. And hey, I had a BlackBerry. Not as my primary device. I had multiples, and I actually had my family as BlackBerry, or transitioned over to BlackBerry for a while because it made sense at the time because of BBM, the free data, as much messages as you like, whatever. My mom can go through like 1,000 SMSs a month, at the time, those 1,000 SMS bundles, that was a thing, whereas with these over the top services where BBM was, it was not known how cool that really was because after that came Mixit, which was across all platforms, and then came WhatsApp and whatever. So bringing us over to Mixit, there was a couple of questions around who remembers Mixit and if anyone ever used it. Did you ever use Mixit, Joe? Did
yes.
you?
When I
Because I
first came to
didn't.
South
Like,
Africa,
I feel out. I didn't use Mixit.
when I first came to South Africa in 2007 and started to get into the like started to learn about South Africa and stuff. I remember I can't remember what phone I had, but I remember downloading. Like everyone was like, "Yo, you gotta get Mixit. Like it's free to text people and stuff like that, and message people and blah blah blah." And they were using the shorthand, like I think it was ASL, and stuff like that, age, sex, like location or
Yes,
something like that.
location, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like old, or what was that? Like old school chat. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The chat rooms were a bit hectic, but yeah, and then you could just chat to people as well, and yeah, Mixit was all right. I think Mixit was probably Obviously, it's died down now. I don't think they even exist. I think WhatsApp has completely taken over, and rightfully so. But yeah, um,
Gentle had a
yeah.
pager.
I remember pages too. I remember
A
those.
beeper. Did she have a beeper or a proper pager?
Yeah.
Like, or did she have a beeper? I remember the beepers, those little yellow or blue, whatever things you would carry
Yes. Yes. Yes.
around a beeper.
And then Mix It was dodgy. I agree with you on that one. And then Bradley saying you didn't miss much. Yeah, pretty much. Um, so yeah.
I see a question. Bradley said Android mobile only really started taking off at Gingerbread. Agreed, Brad. Gingerbread was 2.3. So Android 2.3 launched in 2010, I think, with the Google Nexus S. And if you go back to our Android stream and Samsung versus Android Apple stream, spoke about that a little bit because the Google Nexus S for me was a very cool device at the time because it was not bloated with all of the other stuff that Samsung or whoever compiles into that OS. So, but yeah, 2.3 Android 2.3 was awesome. But again, 2 years after they launched, so really only in 2010, and that was at a time where BlackBerry was just kicking it, and they did what they needed to do. So, I had a Tamagotchi though. I see Shaq Dweller's comment. I had a Tamagotchi.
I also had a Tamagotchi. Like,
Yeah.
I had who remembers Furby? Okay, now we're getting off topic, but I mean Furby. I had a Furby when I was a kid.
What's a Furby? I need to Google a Furby. Is it that thing that you give water?
No. Well,
Furby.
maybe now you can. I don't know how advanced they've become. I've seen a few still around in the toy shops. But a Furby was like a Tamagotchi, only it was. It looked like how do I explain this? What's that movie? Help me out, guys. Gremlins. It looked like Gremlin. It looked like a gremlin.
Gremlins. Yes.
Only a lot
That's
cuter.
what I was thinking about.
And you could talk to it. It could learn your language. It moved. It was very animatronic or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's. But I mean, after a while, it got boring, to be honest, because it just did the same shit over and over. But yeah, you had to feed it. You had to take care of it. You had to, treat it like a pet. So yeah.
Cool. Well, that was all the questions that we had for Samsung versus Apple, except for that in that stream, Gentle Inflatables. It was very, very evident that she's a huge Android fan. Like, very evident. Like, I don't think we're going to convince Gentle to go to Apple soon, Joe.
And that's fine. We ended that stream with the thought of, you know what, whatever works for you works for you. It's a preference thing. You like Android, stick with Android. You like iOS, stick with iOS as long as it's Apple. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun stream, to be honest. I enjoyed that stream. Right. So the next one was the smart homes and the IoT. So that was the second to last stream that we did. There was a very interesting question from anti-Marxist ZA and Sunny said, Jannie, have you thought of converting to Home Assistant to get away from your smart home channeling everything through Google and the different servers in China? That is a very good question, anti-Marxist. And yes, I have started thinking about it. The reason why I didn't talk too much about it in the stream, though, is because I wanted smart homes to be easy for everybody, because that starts going into the advanced control for me and somebody that needs to have, I think, a little bit more experience around, smart homes and building these servers yourself, et cetera, And typically it is something that you can, again, run on a Raspberry Pi. If you guys don't know what it is in chat, let me know, then I will bring one up. But it's an interesting topic because, Joe, if you remember, a couple of weeks back, we had that outage with Google's authentication services, and we couldn't log into our YouTube and Gmail and all those things. Do you recall that? Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Oh, yes.
Remember? Yeah. Remember, we had that issue for 2 hours or 1 hour during one Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. we had like issues logging on. Now that would be a good example because I obviously researched a little bit around what Apple said happened. Not Apple, sorry, Google said what happened, and somebody also wrote an article for Google saying like that he woke up late that day because like he's used to his Google Nest waking him up, and because well at our time it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but that was like wake up time for somebody in the US, and like they didn't wake up because the Google Nest didn't wake up, so it didn't start like his whole morning routine of like open the curtains, play my radio station, whatever. So
someone just tripped over a wire in Google. That's what happened, and they're too embarrassed to admit it.
that's what I thought as well. Like it was an internal thing. It was I don't think they were hacked, and if they were, by law they needed to have disclosed that already. I think they only have 3 days to make it public, and then within the first 7 days they need to talk about it. I just need to double check, but there's a law around that, and all companies, even companies in South Africa that is dealing with like not so much POPI yet, but also GDPR, etc. You do need to make it known if you had a breach, and people's information may or may not have been exposed or whatever. So. But so from that point, that is interesting. The Home Assistant stuff is pretty cool. The nice thing about it is the devices that I have, like these Sonos devices and these smart switches that I have, they are actually compatible to convert to be non-cloud, whereby you run in your own little server at home and then you control all your things off home. You can still access it from remote, like, if you're out and about. So long as your house is on the internet and you have access to the internet, you can still control your stuff. You're just not dependent on a cloud service anymore. It's like running your own Facebook or running your own YouTube or whatever. So just a little simpler. So it's called Desmoda. So Desmoda is like an open source, open hardware, open software, more group of people that builds new upgraded firmwares for these things. So it's essentially like jailbreaking an Apple or rooting an Android. Jailbreaking Apple and rooting an Android. By loading Desmoda onto the Sonos devices, it converts it to a on-premises or a local only type of device. Then Gentle Inflatables also asked, what if it has a virus? So Gentle, if you want to rephrase that question a little bit in chat, I'm happy to. But the way how I interpret the question is, what if it has a virus? I'm assuming you mean the smart device. These smart devices necessarily won't get a virus. Those devices runs low-level code. It doesn't run a full operating system like a phone or our computers or anything. So it's very hard for those devices to get a virus. Not impossible, just very hard. And why I say not impossible is, let's say the software updates gets compromised on that service, and somebody puts a bad software update onto that device that makes that device also, spew some personal information off to one of their hidden servers somewhere in Russia or whatever. Possible if they, hack the firmware for that, but then it means they're actually not compromising the device; they're compromising a process. Something that's very possible in a lot of things, not just these devices. So I don't really see those devices getting a virus. The tip that I can give you, though, is two-factor authentication anywhere and everywhere. So on these type of software where you do it, don't use the same password used for all your other things you sign in with. And that kind of like goes in general for everything. So don't make your YouTube password the same as your Facebook password and Twitter password. You should really use different passwords for them all. But make sure that your smart home stuff also has a different password, so that if that service gets compromised and that password leaks out, they don't go and log into your YouTube or whatever, or vice versa. If your YouTube password gets compromised, they don't go and log into your, your smart home stuff. So make sure you use proper different passwords for everything. And where the software supports it, use two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication or 2FA or MFA or however the different websites refers to that, but that'll just go a great deal in terms of protecting your identity with the service that you are using, that, in case your account gets hacked or stolen, your lights don't go on and off in the middle of the day, or something like that. That could be a bit of an issue. So that was the only 2 questions I had for smart homes, Joe. I don't know if we have some questions from chat. Some people
let's,
I do
let's
see.
move on. Let's move on to the last question that you have there, and then we'll take some questions from the audience.
Cool. Okay, cool. So the last one was just under general, and that was just somebody asking. Jeff asked, "Is Agile Emilio VPN apps aren't as secure as people and companies make it out to be? It's actually subpar." So I differ with that, Joe, and Jeff. If you ever listen to this, happy to debate that with you. VPN is a technology called virtual private network. Okay. So what that means is it means that between me and the service that I connect to, I have an encrypted tunnel. Okay. So the technology in terms of VPN is actually fairly bulletproof. The authentication mechanisms around it. So when you start using proper authentication with multi-factor authentication, 2FA, whatever, obviously that whole chain becomes a little more, more secure. But where I think I kind of agree with your question is saying that don't make it like all VPN apps aren't as secure as people make it out to be. When you pay for a service, you typically have some fine print that applies with you and that you can hold that company responsible to, is that they will protect your data, they won't give out any of your information, etc., etc. So that's also why, and I think I've made it in one of the previous streams, I made this point, is don't go and use or sign up for these free VPN services, because when you use a free service, there's nothing you can hold them against. And I think it was in the Social Dilemma stream, Joe, the one guy said that when something is free, we are the product. Now, that's exactly what happens with a free VPN service, because why are you using a free VPN? You want to watch, content that's not available local in your country. You want to maybe do something weird, whatever. And where they own the VPN server and they don't have any rules that applies to them, because nowhere did you tick a box to say that, you agree to their policies or they agree to your policies or whatever, they can potentially look at your data and whatever, and it's not necessarily secure. So when it comes to free VPN apps, guys, stay away. Jeff, I agree with you, stay away. That's not as secure as what company make it out to be. But if you are using a paid for service, I think they're pretty good, and there's a couple of good ones. NordVPN is probably one of my favorites, but some companies actually has their own VPN services. So if you work for like one of the big companies, they might sometimes actually have their own hardware and their own VPN technology. So there's nothing wrong with that. That tech is bulletproof. The technology underneath that's bulletproof. If you're using bulletproof authentication with 2FA, etc., it's pretty good. I would not think that it's subpar. And that's it, Joe.
Cool.
What other questions do we have from chat?
Not a lot. Shack Dweller saying it's a bit off topic. Jannie, how concerned are you about AI and so-called singularity? This might be a good topic.
To do, Joe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That is a good topic.
So maybe you should. Whoa, horsey. Whoa. Before you go off on a tangent, maybe we should just say stay tuned for that upcoming topic.
Let's do that. Let's give it proper justice, because this is an interesting topic.
Exactly.
And I can make a book recommendation for people to read if you want to read one or two interesting books around that topic. Or if you're into audiobooks, you can also get it on.
Yeah. And then there's Shack Dweller number 2 who says 2 likes for you, Joe. Okay.
Ooh.
I don't know who that is.
Shack Dweller's twin. Shack Dweller has 2 accounts, because his one account is all uppercase and his other account is normal case.
Okay. And then Gentle Inflatables asking a very important question, I think. PC gaming versus Xbox gaming and PlayStation. Another good topic, actually, which we kind of touched on in our retro gaming a little bit at the beginning.
PC gaming for the win.
I knew he was going to say that. I beg to differ. I beg to differ, but that'll be a good
one, because you're a console person and I'm a PC person. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's debate it.
I can see the smile on your face. You can't wait for that one.
The lose.
Look, console gaming is the OG of gaming. I'm sorry. Actually, technically, arcade games are the OG of gaming, but that's also a bit debatable.
Yeah, but we need to define what gaming means in that sense. Though we're talking single player, or we're talking what player versus player, or we're talking about proper LAN gaming
gaming
and
is
whatever.
gaming, my
Because
friend. There's no definition.
no,
No, no, no.
no,
Gaming
you're
is gaming.
defining.
This is
You're
why it's
defining.
going to be a good stream because we're ready.
Oh, okay.
Gentle start.
That's a good topic. That's a good topic.
um, well, Shack Dweller number 2 making a good point here. Xbox made by PC people. But yeah, it's still a console. Xbox is a console. PlayStation is a console. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So yeah.
And some people I'll still recommend buying a console. I wouldn't necessarily recommend everybody to go and buy a PC. I almost want to say is your average gamers or console gamers, and then when you really want to do proper gaming, you go to PC. Are you happy?
I'm gonna reserve all my. Okay,
dude, I've got so many more of those. It hurts. Hey, no, I'm teasing. I will actually recommend to some people to buy a console instead. It really depends on situation and whatever. But at heart, I'm a PC gamer, so it'll be a really good chat if we want to do that, Joe.
No, we'll definitely do that. That's going to be a good chat. What the hell? Joe doesn't like BlackBerry, yet he plays console. Ach, Nia. I don't understand. What's that? How do you compare the two, Gentle? One's a cell phone, the other one's a gaming. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I feel like I'm being judged.
If BlackBerry had games on it. Did it have games on it?
I don't know, but I feel like I'm being judged really harshly right now by Gentle. I don't. All right, so let's see if there was any questions we. Oh yeah, just punch your shirt there. Reese's sister's business.
Two Broke Friends. So this is my sister-in-law's business that she has with a friend. Let me bring up the link quick. Let me bring this back down. It looks a bit normal. I think they are only running on Facebook. They do have a website and things, but Two Broke Friends on Facebook. I will share their page. It's really awesome, guys. They do like a lot of handmade stuff, like handmade cookies and some like things to wear, like ear thingies. Sorry, I'm really doing a really bad job at let me just bring up their shop quickly. But like they made like scrunchies and hats and all kinds of things. That's really cool to buy, and pens and all really cool. Let me paste the link in chat, guys. Go and follow them. They are located in Strand in the Western Cape, and they do ship. I've seen that they've shipped some things to some people, so they do ship. And follow and support some local businesses. Do they have earmuffs? I don't know if they have earmuffs. Eleutheria. Let me check on the website quick. They have like cool, like, I know, masks and things, but it's all pretty cool, and earrings and everything. So yeah, go give them a like on Facebook and share, please, guys. Support local.
Cool. Shack Dweller was number 2 says
Gentle was also bought from them.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Gentle.
Thank you, Gentle.
All right, cool. So I don't see any more questions, but I'll give you guys about 60 seconds to pop in any more questions. This is anything now regarding tech. If we know the answer, we'll give it. But thank you for also suggesting some topics, even though there were kind of questions. We've now turned them into topics.
That's what we do.
Yeah, I think an AI conversation is definitely worth having, as well as the console versus PC, and some other topics that we discussed. So yeah. And see if anybody else has any other questions. I think it was Shack Dweller. Did we answer your question about VPN? I know you had a question about VPN, but I cannot go. I cannot go up back enough to see.
Let me just
Let
see.
me know, Shack
Shaq,
Dweller.
well, just say yes or no. Is this your question? I do freelance and want to double up on work, but two profiles, one IP address is a problem. Can a VPN help? Was that your question? Okay, Shaq says yes. I just want to make sure I understand the question. So I do freelance and want to double up on work. So he wants to do two things at once, like work for two companies or like VPN into two companies at once. Is that what you mean? Let's see if that's what he means. Because that would be tough. Two profiles, one company. Okay, so
Well,
I need
I'll
to
answer.
understand that use case. That's interesting.
Yeah, while you're busy with that, I'll answer Eletheria's question. How close are we to having robotic maids? Very close, I think. Because we have a lot of tech at the moment that can clean your house very efficiently, that you can just let roam around in your home and clean stuff. It is limited at the moment to just like sweeping the floor, but robotics in general have made huge strides in recent years. There's robots that can do backflips, like literally. There's crazy things that are happening. So I think maybe, okay, when I say close, define, or how close, when you ask how close we are, we would need to define the word close. And my definition of close is maybe a decade. I think another decade we'll be starting to see a lot of big talks about robotics entering the home and helping humans. And then I would say in 2030 or within 2030 as well. So yeah, not too far.
Yeah, that's true. That's I think it's gonna launch in the next couple of years because if you and the way how I see that working is we have a lot of smart things in homes now though, right? So we have like these smart um, vacuums and all kind of things. But when all the things in your house starts becoming smart, meaning like smart fridge, smart cupboards that knows what food's in your cupboard, automatically knows your buying patterns, like that really goes a long way. I think I know it sounds off topic from a maid perspective, but I think we're not really going to get into a point where we don't have to do some things ourselves. I just think it's going to be a lot easier in how we do it, like just putting the dishes into the dishwasher and closing it. Don't worry about switching it on. Don't worry about is there soap and whatever inside. um, it will know when to start it based on your smart house and when the battery's charged and whatever, but it will be ready for tomorrow. I think it's going to become all that. And then, yeah,
I think
smart
we will have robots.
robots,
I think
maids.
I think the robot will communicate with the smart home.
So you think we're going to have something that runs around your house and does things for you, like
Yeah,
that type of robot?
like a butler or like a
Okay.
maid. Like I think
Okay.
they will the AI will get so intelligent that they'll be able to see a dirty dish or whatever, and they'll just know where the dishwasher is, put it in the dishwasher. Then, like you said, smart appliance will just know, oh, the dishwasher is full, time to clean the dishes. That kind of like they communicate to each other in a sense. I don't know about cooking. I don't think it's going to cook. I think that's still very far in the future. But a simple task of cleaning or mopping or something like that, just putting dishes in the thing, I don't think that's far away.
Okay. That's interesting. We can talk about that. I don't think that's going to be the direction the world goes into.
Okay,
Um,
well, that's
but
interesting. Yeah.
it's. I'm not saying that we're not going to have the smart stuff. I just think like smart robots. I just. And here's the thing, though, right? Because you said 10 years. I don't think the technology that's good that goes into those smart robots is going to be commercially available to us in 10 years. And and that's why maybe we need to have that AI discussion around that. But there's an interesting book that I read that goes on. There's millions and millions that gets put into a lot of these smart robots, like the one's name that I missed now, Sophia. Like Sophia as an example. I don't know if you guys have seen Sophia. Awesome half body robot, whatever, and she's trained on like so many things. But that's kind of like it, though, right? Creating a robot, and I'm not saying it's easy, please. Creating a robot that you talk to and that has a conversation with you and that understands things and whatever is one aspect you teach a robot. But try and teach a robot to open up a door. That is a lot harder than you think, because that robot needs to figure out where that door is. It needs to figure out how hard to hold the knob. It needs to know which direction to turn it. It needs to know when it's locked. Like, is it locked? Is it not locked? There's so much stuff that goes into it. No two doors are the same. One door is, smooth. Another door is like glitchy. So it's a lot harder than we think. So,
but what if it was not as complicated? So what if, let's say, for argument's sake, Sophia, right? You have a Sophia in your home, okay? And you just say, much like we do with Siri and Google or whatever, or Alexa, we just say, hey, Sophie, please make sure that the doors are locked. And you told me in your smart home thing that you can program your smart home to know that when you lie in bed, the door needs to be locked. So in that kind of, so it just communicates, right? So Sophia will then communicate wirelessly through that app.
She'll be your digital assistant.
Yeah, and then be like, okay, cool, and then she'll say like, Jannie, doors have been locked. So it doesn't necessarily need to go physically and lock it.
Fair enough, but as an example, though, right? What I'm saying is a robot interacting with physical things, like opening up the dishwasher, putting a plate of food in, knowing how heavy a plate is that's got food on. There's so much stuff that goes into that. There's a reason why we aren't as far as what we are with robotics. And I saw somebody made a comment, I think it was Shaq Dweller, Boston Dynamics, those guys are awesome with what they do with robots and whatever. And Joe, I don't know, I sent you the stuff that James Bruton does in the UK, building like those open dogs, and he built like the Iron Man suits and whatever. Like, that's all cool, but I mean, it's nowhere near the AI and stuff that the guys from Boston Dynamic does to robots. But again, we're still far off having that all-in-one,
perhaps
robot made.
Is if we do the AI conversation, I should see if Wotan can join us, because he knows a lot about AI, like a lot.
Who's this?
So Wotan, Odin.
Oh, Wotan. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so he knows a lot about that information or that topic, so we can bring him in as a guest on the show, and we can all ask him questions and see what his opinion is on how close we are to that kind of technology. If there's anyone that's going to know, it's going to be him.
Yeah, it'd be good to have a chat with him around that, because, I think all-purpose robot, we're very far off. Making a robot do one or two things really well, not that hard. I'm not saying it's not that hard. It's a lot easier when you have to focus a robot on doing two things or one thing or something. Like, like all the weaponry and whatever type of stuff. I've seen some of those comments. I mean, that's all very, very possible. And guys are doing some really cool stuff with it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an hour, so we're going to keep this as short as possible. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the questions and answers Tech Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We rehashed some old topics and definitely got you guys thinking and talking. So thank you, Jannie, for also joining me. It's been really nice to do this show with you in the past few months, and I'm looking forward to the future topics that we're going to have. I actually cannot wait for some of them, so that's going to be very exciting. Thank you all so much for also suggesting some topics. That was great. And I think we also decided that Jannie and I will do a question and answer episode once every 4 episodes. So every on
Yeah.
the so like from now on we'll do 3 episodes. On the 4th episode, we'll do a Q&A in case we missed any questions in those 3 episodes, and then the cycle will repeat. So yeah, hopefully we can get to all your questions no matter what. And I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. And thank you for the pop quiz.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think it's been really cool. I mean, 6 months ago, you asked me like, "Hey, why don't you come into my channel?" And 6 months later, we have a cool show. So it's
Yeah.
2 months later, we have a cool show. Now it's been 6 months later. So really awesome, man. And I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for the stream today.
Oh, no worries, man. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Shaq Dweller saying, why did I not know about these streams, Joe? Maybe you're not
It's YouTube.
subscribed, or it's YouTube.
It's YouTube.
Yes, these streams have definitely been a lot of fun. I think we've touched. I actually forgot that we actually did. We had the social dilemma as well, which is a very interesting conversation. So yeah. Please, guys, go put those shows on a. They're in a playlist. So Tech Tuesday, and you can go watch them one after the other. So yeah.
The playlist in chat.
Long time sub. Thank you so much, Sack Driller number 2. It's greatly appreciated. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe it's YouTube then. Thank you, Bradley Cook, for saying well done, gents. Thank you, Bradley, for tuning in. Thank you to everybody else who tuned in. But yeah, I don't know when my next stream will be. I'm contemplating doing one on New Year's, but I don't think I will. I think I don't know. I'll see how it goes. I don't want to commit to anything, but I will definitely be back in the new year, which is kind of weird to say. But New Year's is only 2 days away. Yeah, or 3 days away. So I'll definitely see you guys in the new year. If I don't see you before then, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.